I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everyone. This is Constitutional Attorney Katherine Henry. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday's Freedom Fighting Tools. Today, I'm going to provide a few more than I usually do in the Freedom Fighting Tool department because I think some of these were a little hard to separate from each other in terms of giving you some tools that you might very desperately need. This week in our Restore Freedom Weekly episode, we talked about three very important cases that have made their way to the Michigan Supreme Court. The 2020 Michigan Supreme Court case with the legislature suing the governor over the executive orders, the Midwest Health case versus the governor, which made its way to the Michigan Supreme Court in 2020, and the Iron Pig versus MDHHS case, which made its way briefly to the Michigan Supreme Court this year and is currently in the Michigan Court of Appeals. In talking about those cases, we were talking about the 1945 EPGA, the 1976 EMA, the 1976 Public Health Code, and of course, those two main statutes of the Public Health Code, 333.2253 and 2243. So because of those EOs that had been issued by those supposedly pursuant to the Public Health Code statutes referenced there, the MDHHS, they started issuing those EOs when, the nastiest ones, when the governor lost the case in the Michigan Supreme Court in October of 2020. And it left a lot of people and businesses and other organizations with terrible choices. Do I risk having to face governmental penalties, jail time, civil fines and penalties, licensing issues, or do I close my business or otherwise follow these unconstitutional orders? In making that choice, some people, whether they made that choice initially or they just decided enough is enough at some point later on, some people have been forced to fight any kind of repercussions or consequences that came out of these supposed defiles or, not following of these EOs. Today, what I want to do, these freedom fighting tools I want to give to you today would be so that if you are in a situation where you are having to fight to keep your business license or to fight against, these unfounded financial penalties, thousands of dollars, whatever the case may be, you're fighting back to deal with some sort of arrest that happened because of you supposedly trespassing on a business because you wouldn't wear a mask or whatever the case may be. The tools I'm going to give you today are going to be the kind of thing that you will need to be able to represent yourself, number one, or to at least be a little bit more informed and involved in the process if you find that you do have an attorney that will be representing you. You should never leave something totally to an attorney. You should always try to stay up on what's going on and ask questions and be informed. And of course, on Freedom Fighting Fridays, that is exactly what we're trying to do. Well, quite frankly, all of our episodes and segments throughout the week are geared towards that. So let's see. With that being said, the first of these freedom fighting tools that I have for you, of course, these are all in addition to the PDF for all the case documents that I shared with you earlier this week. That link is in the description of this video, so you can see it again if you lost the link or didn't have a chance to look at that yet. But hopefully in order of how they appear in the description of this video, the first of these freedom fighting tools is from the Michigan Court of Appeals and Supreme Court. It's called Michigan Courts One Court of Justice website, courts.michigan.gov. And they have a frequently asked questions section. Now, sometimes you go to these government websites and their FAQ page really doesn't help you at all. But I do find that there's a lot of good information on this FAQ section with the Michigan courts. It starts up here. This part gets a little confusing. It starts up here with the Michigan Supreme Court. And so all of these questions right here are specific to filing or different cases happening in the Michigan Supreme Court. And then once you get to here, it's text of the same color and only slightly larger. It switches to the Court of Appeals. And so then you can see all these questions are specific to the Court of Appeals. And that's followed by the Court of Claims, which is basically the court that you sue any Michigan government entity. So anyway, there's also court clerk info, preparing for my file. That is the online case filing system. So you can see all kinds of information about that. And information about, it says application process. They mean application to be admitted as a licensed attorney in the state of Michigan. Information about the bar exam, character and fitness, admission again to the bar, all kinds of information is on here. But what I wanted to really bring your attention to today were 3 sections. This information about cases that are in the Michigan Supreme Court, this one on the Michigan Court of Appeals, which goes to there. And then if you skip over the Court of Claims section, and you go to and skip over the court clerk info, you can go to preparing for my file. That would also be one that would be helpful if you are, especially if you are representing yourself. Gives you all kinds of information that you need to know. The second of these freedom fighting tools is also on the same main website from Michigan Courts, but it is pro per manuals that are developed for use specifically in the Court of Appeals level. So pro per means in Michigan, it means improper person. It means you're representing yourself. You don't have an advocate in the form of an attorney representing you. So let me see if I can make my screen a little bit bigger. Nope, didn't really change anything. So anyway, you could see here, there's all kinds of information, starting with there's Court of Appeal forms. That's going to be helpful, and often those forms can be required. Additional resources for self-represented litigants, but these 2 are the main: your guide to handling a civil appeal and your guide to pursuing a criminal appeal. Actually, I did not realize that was within what I was sharing with you today. I think I have some duplication then on some of our stuff. In fact, my very next one is the Michigan Court of Appeals Guide to Pursuing a Criminal Appeal for People Who Are Not Attorneys. So that comes out of this link right here. So source number 3 is from the Michigan Court of Appeals. Like I said, it is a treasure trove of information. It was most recently, looks like revised October this last year. And it gives you information on electronic filing, on where the courts, there's 4 main offices for the Courts of Appeal. It gives you a breakdown of what the different information is on when you're asking the court to take your case, when what are your time limits, what are the 2 different types of appeals. It's not civil and criminal, if that's what you're thinking. There's all kinds of information. They have their own FAQ built into this, how to do appeals briefs, a brief example. So that's awesome to have, give you something to look at. I have no idea what that brief example looks like, just so you know. So I really don't know if it's a good one to use or not. So anyway, that is the 3rd of these resources for the week. The 4th is this Handbook of Legal Terms. And quite frankly, I haven't read through all of these, but I figure, well, if the Supreme Court, actually the Michigan Judicial Institute, which is essentially a branch of the Michigan Supreme Court, if they're putting this together, then there's probably some good information in here for you. So essentially, it's a very truncated version of what would be the local version of Black's Law Dictionary. Some very good information in here. Again, I did not look at all those definitions to see if something's askew or something, is just not quite right. But it's at least some good information to give you information on just different words. If you hear me talk about briefs, and you've heard me talk about them for 2 years and you haven't quite figured out what they are. For example, there's the definition of brief right here. So anyway, it's just a good thing if you see something in a document, or you hear it being discussed, or you see it on the news or something, and you're wondering exactly what it means in relation to courts and the court process. This right here would be a good place to just check it out. And I would say too, you might want to even just download this one. It's 62 pages, but really it's not that much because the entire Black's Law Dictionary is thousands of pages. So the next of these freedom fighting resources is also from the Michigan Courts website. And this is a page called How Do I, which is still actually different from the frequently asked questions section. And the subtitle of this is Resources and Guidance to Help You Find Information on the One Court of Justice website. So there are video tutorials. I haven't watched any of these, but I saw these were on there and I wanted to bring them to you in terms of things that would be helpful to you. Information on how to contact a court, finding more legal self-help tools, representing yourself in court, finding a lawyer, watching court proceedings, if you need a court interpreter, if you need ADA accommodations. Now, if you are hard of hearing like I am, and you find yourself needing to go to court, whether you're a plaintiff or a defendant, or you're in a civil case or criminal case, it doesn't matter. If you need to be able to read lips, and the court proceedings have been done typically in a way, or even you're not even sure how they're done, if they're done in a way that might be harder for you to hear, maybe masks are being required, or it's all done electronically or something of that nature, then make sure that you are submitting a timely ADA request for accommodation. Federal law and state law requires the court to do that, to honor requests, unless there's some huge reason why they can't. Good morning, Dwayne. I see that you joined us there. I hope you have a wonderful weekend too. So let's see. Yes, all kinds of information, filing a grievance, all kinds of administrative law hearings. Now, if you've been following anything on that Iron Pig case or anything with Merlina's Bistro, those cases started as administrative law hearings and went from there. So anyway, all kinds of information on How Do I. And the last resource I wanted to share with you is the one that is a page that's specifically designed for self-represented litigants. Find legal assistance, learn about Michigan law, and represent yourself in some legal matters. Well, you can represent yourself in any legal matters. I'm not quite sure why they're saying that, unless they're just saying we don't have information specific to all the various kinds of cases. So again, it's just a whole bunch of information. These bench books right here are actually the books that are the how-to that are given to the judges and justices on how to handle different cases, on how to proceed in different stage of a case. So those are very good to look at because then you're seeing what they see. Again, that Handbook of Legal Terms, I already had that as one of the freedom fighting tools today. The court rules and the rules of evidence. Those are both very important things that, again, it's just a bunch of things you got to keep in mind. Like, oh my gosh, what do I have to follow? Oh, there's laws and there's case precedent and there's court rules and there's rules of evidence and there's administrative orders, and it can be very overwhelming. But hopefully this will be able to help you kind of keep it in check and keep tabs on all that information. Again, there's more information about how to file an appeal. So if you found yourself being in an administrative law hearing or a hearing in front of a district court or a circuit court judge, and things didn't go the way they were supposed to, they didn't follow the law, they didn't follow the Constitution, and your rights are being trampled, this is information on how you would file an appeal. Appeals in the Michigan Supreme Court, appeals in the Michigan Court of Appeals. There are internal operating procedures, which I'm assuming are going to be part of this link right here. The Court of Appeals has their own internal operating procedures. And yes, that is another unforeseen layer to rules and regulations that you're supposed to know when you participate in court. So again, there's some other resources on this page itself, court forms and my file for appellate filers. So showing you how to do my file. Or there's the trial court version if you need help filing in your case at the trial court level. And I've been trained in this MI Resolve. It's a new, I don't know, more unified approach to getting dispute resolution, mediation, and things like that into each and every case before they go to trial, to try to enable the parties to come to an agreement that works for them instead of necessarily having a judge or jury decide something in a way that doesn't work for either one of you. But anyway, so these situations here are all what's covered in the self-represented litigants page. And that is the final resource that I have available for you today. So again, this is just our freedom fighting tools episode, or segment, I should say. If you're looking for the full episode of the week, this is week 14, and our Restore Freedom Weekly episode that aired on Tuesday at noon. That link is available in the description of this video, as well as, like I mentioned, that PDF that gives you quite a few anyway, of the case documents on those 3 main cases that we talked about this week. And don't forget, I didn't put a link in the description here, but please don't forget that if you have any opinion at all, hi, Stephen from Denver on our YouTube channel. If you have any opinion at all on whether I should participate in the case that is currently, it's been back and forth between the Michigan Court of Appeals and Michigan Supreme Court, that Iron Pig case on behalf of a restaurant fighting against these MDHHS requirements and the financial fines and penalties that have come out of that. It was the case that in the circuit court, that judge declared that portion of the public health code unconstitutional. If you want to see that case to fruition, if you want an attorney fighting for us, the people, in the appeals process on that case, and you want me to do that, I'd ask you to jump over to, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and give you that screen real quick. That would be this survey right here, the challenge MCL 333.2253 in court, ? It's called File Amicus Brief. When you open it, and it lays out the situation and what my question for you is. The entire survey is very short. It's just telling you what it's all about is the longest thing. So I'm asking you to pick one of those short choices there, and then tell me a little bit about you, or just your name, and if you're a registered voter in Michigan or elsewhere, are you at least 18? I just want to know who the demographics are for the people who are answering that, but please let your voice be heard. Tell me where you think my time and resources would best be spent, if you think I should be participating in that case or not. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate all of you who are on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook right now, and others that are possibly joining us on the sites I don't see the comments and whatnot from. We look forward to having you do our Wednesdays Way to Get Involved challenge, and to check out this week's unique Restore Freedom goodie, as well as don't forget on Sunday we have that biblical insight for this week's freedom fighting topic. So again, this is constitutional attorney Katherine Henry, and I thank you all for joining me, and I hope you have a absolutely wonderful weekend. Thanks, guys.